Welcome to Body Buddies, home of the Power Foods lifestyle. Take it one meal, one workout, one day at a time. And now, here's the founder of Body Buddies, Christy Joe.
Welcome back to another episode of the Body Buddies podcast. This is episode number 162. In case we have not met before, my name is Christy Joe. I am a mind and body strategist, teaching people how to bridge the gap between the science of optimality in nutrition and fitness and mindset and the actual reality of our day-to-day lives and psychology. You can find me on Facebook as Body Buddies, or Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter with the link BodBuds. Just go like youtube.com/BodBuds or twitter.com/BodBuds. You can find me basically anywhere. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I record weekly podcasts about the hot topics of nutrition, fitness, and mindset, and everything you need to know in order to think differently and become a strategist of your health and how to achieve your best body composition and longevity. You can start your journey today by picking up a free copy of my book, The Power Foods Lifestyle, which is a nutritional way of thinking and a formula to take into account all the science out there about nutrition and providing a formula that makes it very doable no matter what level you're at, whether you're an expert or whether you're totally new to strategic eating. I'm so excited to have on the podcast today JJ Flizanes. She is an empowerment strategist and fitness guru of over 20 years, and she just put out her newest book called The Invisible Fitness Formula. The interview was done a few months ago, so her book is currently out now, and you can grab a copy of it if you click on the show notes. If you just are on your smartphone, just tap on the screen and the show notes will pop up and you'll see a link there. Or if you are listening on the browser or the blog, go ahead and just click on the link there. In this episode, JJ is going to help empower you to think differently about the way your gut impacts everything in your health and how you can begin to heal it. She's going to inspire you to think of appropriate exercise for your body in a natural progression, how to find the why to your fitness journey, looking for the emotional addictions in your life that are tying you to food, and so much more. She is inspiring. She is very intelligent. You are going to learn so much, and definitely recommend you pick up a copy of her book, The Invisible Fitness Formula. So let's go ahead and give the floor to JJ.
I've been in the fitness industry for 20 years, and I've never been the trainer or even the person that's been 100% on board with focusing on exercise and eating well in order to look good on the outside. It's a side benefit. It's something everybody wants, but it never felt like the right reasons to be doing any of these things. It felt surface. It felt unsustainable. It felt like it lacked depth and longevity because as we age, our body changes regardless, and that kind of just didn't really stick. And while I have myself dealt with shame and with body shame, and I mean, I'm in a fitness industry, and before that I was in the entertainment industry, so, you know, looking good or having a certain kind of look was thought to be important. But as the years have gone on, every stage I learned something different, I learned something new, I learned something deeper, and the whole picture has just has expanded way past, and it has for years, the science of the body. It needed to start with the science of the body for me because I wasn't a science person prior to that. I didn't really think I was that smart, and then when I started to learn all the sciences of the body and I was good at it, I realized it's because I couldn't visualize the sciences in other ways, like different, like maths and other sciences. I just couldn't. It wasn't personal, so therefore I didn't have an attachment to it. But then when we put it in your body, I got excited. So this is a culmination of 20 years of work and working with people. And to me, I'm always about the bottom line. I've got a lot of Sag in me. I'm a Pisces, but I've got a lot of Sag in it. So like what's the truth of this? Why do you really want to look good? Why do you really care what your body looks like? And really at the end of all of that, at the end of every attempt to lose weight, to exercise, to get stronger, to rehab joints, whatever, is to like yourself and to be happy. That's the bottom line, period. And I kind of went there real fast, and I thought, well, how do we get people there faster? And what roadblocks come up along the path to stop that? And body shame is one of them, and lack of self-acceptance is one of them. So that's why it was just time. I've had the brand for 15 years, 17, 18 years, and it continued to be filled in. Invisible Fitness started as the joints and the sciences and why I and my team were different, and it was because we understood the sciences that a lot of trainers don't. And then as time went on, the brand started to include all of it, from the physical to the mental, emotional, and the spiritual.
And we know that so much of what holds us back is the way we view ourselves. And I love the fact that you're bringing in this is more than just a physical connection that people have. It's emotional, it's spiritual, it's psychological, all of these factors. So before we dive into those 5 secrets, and I don't know how much you want to give away versus how, obviously we want all of our listeners to go read the book. When does it come out and where will it be available?
May 18th, and you can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or come over to invisiblefitness.com and you can get it from me. So, yeah. Fantastic.
Great. So before we go into that, though, I'm just curious, what originally got you into the fitness industry and the entertainment industry you said before that? Maybe give us a little preview of that and some of your own life journey and this evolution of perhaps a changing or growing perspective, which other people haven't had yet.
Well, I've been dancing since I was 3, and I've been in plays and in dance recitals and bands, jazz bands, and all kinds of things. So I'm a dancer, singer, and then moved into being an actress, and I was always good at that. It felt natural. It felt fun. It felt right. It felt holistic. And so I was a very right brain activated child and young adult, and so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do lots of things, but I realized if I was an actress, I could do it all. I could be a lawyer. I could play any role. I could learn and study anything if I was acting. So when I was graduating college, of course, you have to consider what's an actress going to do for work in between auditions and possibly getting roles. And the standard thing to do, of course, is to get some kind of job in the restaurant industry, which I was, and I had been for years. I'm a Greek Italian too, so I'm a foodie, and I cook and I bake, but I really didn't like being in the food industry. It bored me. And I recognized early on, without being able to identify what it was that I needed to either be using my body or using my brain. I couldn't, and when it came to like waiting tables, I wasn't doing either. Like there was no problem to solve. There wasn't anything mental to figure out. And there's nothing really physical going on either. I wasn't expressing. I wasn't utilizing my body. So I recognized a yearning for something more. And when I was in like the last year of school, a girlfriend who I was working with in retail had said, let's go get a job at the gym. We can get a free membership. And I thought, okay. And I'd had really strong muscular legs from dancing forever. And I had a really skinny, scrawny upper body. And I was dating a gymnast. And he had a beautiful, sculpted, balanced body all over the place. And I thought, yeah, I could probably use some upper body muscle because I don't have any. And I look a little bit weird, like a pear. Because it was just so obvious that I had, muscular legs from dancing, and I did zero for my upper body. So we went to the gym, and I noticed the trainers, and especially one particular trainer. She was an older woman, and I thought, how do I do that? I want to do that. And so I asked, and they gave me a phone number to take a test, and that's kind of how that started. And I recognized that I wanted to learn, and I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know what I was going to be excited about or passionate about, and I had no idea then that what this was going to take me down the path in terms of science and really getting excited about science. So that's sort of how that started. Me in the fitness industry was really to get a job, and then also because I cared about my body. So every stage of this journey isn't about like serving others or getting business, so to speak. It's really truth-seeking, and it's for my own longevity and health and well-being as well, and happiness. And then what I learn, I then share with others, and what I see in others, I also learn myself. So I get to see what people are going through, and I'm a student constantly. I'm always learning, and I'm always learning some new kind of science, either that be the psychological, mental sciences, or the physical sciences. So I definitely have a lot of information and a lot of science, and it's not just science. You meet people who are very scientific and very structured and very like medical based, but there's none of the spirit and there's none of the mental part. And let's be honest, anything you do in life is because you want to feel good or you want to be happy. It's really the motivating factor for every single choice you ever make. So It blows me away when people can't put that together. Like, okay, maybe your actions are the medical thing and you get in the scientific thing, but the impulse to do anything is a mental emotional conversation. So you can't ignore that part and think you're going to have long-term success without diving into every impulse, every feeling, every belief that drives every choice you make.
Oof, I love that. Just got goosebumps. I hope our listeners really let that sink in, that every choice we make has a reason. There's something behind it. There's something deeper. That means we got to open our minds. We need to think and be aware of what's going on. So I am just tickled pink to hear what these 5 secrets are. And again, I'm curious how deep you want to go into them. So let's just start with that first one you'd love to share with us.
Sure. The first secret is about healing your digestion. When it comes to the food conversation, lots of people still today are counting calories. And counting calories is basically a control issue. And can it work? Sure. But it isn't really healthy on any level. Is it healthy to understand how much you put in your gas tank? Of course. But once you sort of understand what different food values are and what they're made up of and whether they're good for you or not and how they affect your body, you don't need to count them anymore. There's a sort of natural ebb and flow to eating and blood sugar regulation and food combining. Once you learn it, then you just know it and you understand to make choices. You don't have to track every single calorie that goes in your mouth. It's really not going to lead you to happiness, even if you have weight loss, because sustaining that is going to be very frustrating because all calories aren't the same either. And all calories or foods with or without calories aren't necessarily good for you and can backfire and do the reverse, because even though you think you're drinking a Diet Coke which has no calories, that Diet Coke has a sweetness level which is over 300 times sweeter than sugar, which means your pancreas is going to put out insulin, and insulin helps you to hold on to fat. So healing digestion is really about understanding the root causes of what's going on in your digestive system, how the foods affect your body, if you have inflammation and leaky gut, which honestly I believe most people have leaky gut. So, okay, let's just assume you have leaky gut. What do you do about it and how do you uncover that? So I take you through how to figure that out and foods contribute to causing leaky gut, and then how to remove them, how to go on an elimination diet to see which foods your body do not digest well, and then how to help break down your foods. Really, leaky gut is, imagine a screen. I have cats, and our screen door in our bedroom, we used to leave it open to let the air come in, but the cats love to climb the screen because it's really fun for them to put their claws on that screen. Well, the more they do that, the larger those holes get. And the larger those holes get, the more outside things like bugs and whatever come in that weren't able to be in before because the screen was filtering them. And what happens in your digestive system and your intestinal tract is you have that's really soft tissue. And over time, between stress, drugs, toxins, and food that your body can't break down, they create little holes. And those little holes then leak out food particles into your bloodstream. And the body goes, whoa, what is this? That's a foreign invader. Let's go attack it. So all your white blood cells come to attack that foreign invader because it's not supposed to be in your bloodstream. And now you have inflammation. And now you have holes in your intestinal tract, which lots of people have. And so bloating and gas and irritable bowel syndrome, and if you're only eliminating once a day or less than that, like those are all digestive problems. Those that's not normal. It might be your normal, but it isn't healthy. And so rather than talk about the food conversation from the side of calorie counting in and out, because leaky gut will lead to autoimmune disorders in time, and because your body will continue to attack itself. So we're talking about way past weight loss and releasing weight. We're talking about just general health and well-being and longevity. So the first secret is really about healing digestion.
Interesting. And so again, to our listeners, the title of this book, Invisible Fitness Formula, 5 Secrets to Release Weight and End Body Shame, I find it so fascinating that it's a physiological thing. So it's almost as if you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost as if you're subliminally saying, because I'm sure there's going to be other things on, emotional or psychological, but you first have to really address the fact we have a physical body, and isn't that the vehicle we carry in our lives? And so we can't do all this mental discipline work and all of this mindset, self-help, personal development, and leave behind the very vehicle that's allowing us to have thought patterns and our brain waves and so much of that connection. So I find that fascinating. And maybe we need to go through all 5 before I maybe comment on the order or anything and ask you deeper questions. So let's move on to number 2.
Well, no, I want to address that really quick. Yes, people, when talking about releasing weight, people expect there to be a program that provides results first and foremost. And the number one place you're going to get the fastest results is healing your digestion and dealing with your food. So that's why it's number 1. It's also number 1 because there are foods that create cravings for you. Foods that you're sensitive to create cravings. They also create anxiety, like sugar, for instance, can create anxiety in the brain. It's like cocaine for the brain and overstimulus. So, and pumping out lots of insulin. So we have biochemical factors that create emotional responses. And sometimes people mistakenly think they're just an emotional eater when they're actually sensitive to all the foods they eat. And so all the foods they eat create these cravings and keep them in this constant state of inflammation. And if you remove those foods, which I've done with people before, all of a sudden the cravings go away. They're not hungry. And now they go, wow, oh, okay, maybe I'm not an emotional eater. So until we remove the biochemical blocks and environment that's creating an illusion of something that may or may not be for you, we have to see what the truth of it is. So that's why the first 3 steps are very scientific, because the science still exists, and yes, you still have a body. And we need to get the body in balance. We need to give it what it needs and make sure we're doing things efficiently and properly, so to speak. And once you get all the first 3 foundations down, now we can start having that conversation about the emotional and mental and spiritual piece. We don't really want to have that at first because we may be working against what your body's trying to do. If you're not feeding your body the right things, if it's missing things, if it has too many hormones or too little hormones or too much sugar or too much insulin, you're not going to be able to tell. You're not going to be in a state of balance enough to be able to really look at your emotions or your mental, belief systems or how you react to things, because you're going to be in a state of basically of imbalance. So that's why we have to start with the medical first.
Love, love, love. Times a million happy emojis. Oh, awesome. Okay, let's go on to number 2.
So number 2 is about getting smart exercise. And smart exercise, what I love, there are a lot of people out there like Suzanne Summers and Dr. Christian Northrup, and I have a bunch of people who I really love the work that they put out in the world. And as much as I love them, I'm so sad that in all of their books, the exercise chapter is the smallest. And I want to yell at everybody and say, guys, exercise is as much science as any of the other things that we're talking about here. There are multiple sciences included in exercise, and the majority of people don't treat exercise like what it really is. Exercise is like building a building. You wouldn't just decide to construct your own building. You'd be concerned that you wouldn't do something right and it'd fall apart or it would fall on you and you die. So you hire an architect to create a structure. You hire people to survey the ground to make sure it's strong enough to hold the building you're about to place on it. You hire lots of people to look at the situation and to do it in a very methodical and deliberate way. Well, exercise is no different. Your structure is your skeletal system and your joints, and then your muscles. And then we go deeper and we have our nervous system, and you have your endocrine system, and so we have all these systems. Yet people just want to go throw weight around or do something and think, as long as I sweat or it hurts, I must be doing something well. And when I first started personal training, one of my instructors, who was an ex-Mr. Olympian, stood up in front of the room and yelled, "I have 11 injuries. Don't do what I did." And I was like 20-something, and I went, okay, that's all I needed to hear. He did things in a not smart way, and now he's got injuries. I do not want to have injuries, so I'm going to learn about this so I don't do this in a not smart way. And, but it wasn't sexy. It wasn't fun. I was in my early 20s talking about joint integrity, and nobody cared because nobody cares until you get injured. You don't until your joints start to hurt. You don't think, oh, is this exercise beneficial to my joints, or how am I wearing it down? So smart exercise it includes more than just the joints, but that's the first place to start, because you get one skeletal structure. And while you can have hip replacements and knee replacements, you don't want to need them. And how you exercise your body today is going to either preserve your joints or wear them down faster. Like the brakes and the tires on your car your joints wear down over time. And I promise the majority of people exercising are wearing their joints down faster because they don't understand what's going on. And so they're not making choices, because you can get the same results from two different exercises, but one of them is going to, again, protect you, and one will wear you down faster.
Sure. Perfect. Beautiful. It makes us really think about what are we doing, challenging our previous thoughts or lack of thought, and saying, what can I be doing better? All right, lovely. Let's move on to number 3.
Number 3 is about balancing and replenishing your hormones, and both naturally and supplementally, but looking at really your endocrine system very intricately and all of the different parts of it that people don't really understand, like blood work. When you get blood work, do you understand what's on your blood work? Do you know what those different things are that you're being tested, or do you just get the test, the doctor says, okay, everything's fine, and you're done? Yeah. I think it's important to sort of be proactive about your health and understand all the different things that your different hormones do for your body and why you need them and how to eat to help your body produce them naturally, how to have certain lifestyle choices that help your body produce them naturally, and when you're getting to the place of thinking about supplementation, asking why and which way do I go. There are hormones out there that are synthetic, made from horse urine. That's the Prempro and the Premarin. We don't support that. We don't want that. And
that's
most
disgusting.
people who right, it's disgusting, and it's pharmaceutical based. So for those of you that are Western medicine, I apologize, I'm not trying to offend you, but the reality of our situation is that the Western, pharmaceutical companies run medicine. So that's why, your doctor's education is based on and provided by pharmaceutical companies. They learn how to diagnose and treat and hand you a pill, not to look at the root cause and not to figure out how to do it naturally. Healthcare in our society is not about health. It's about sickness. It's sick care. You don't go to the doctor or the hospital because you're well and you want to continue to be well. You go because something's wrong. So I'm in healthcare about prevention. So you don't have to go to the hospital or go to the doctor. Eventually you get your checkup and stuff, of course, but you're being proactive. So again, when it comes to hormones, so back to that in that scientific point of view, let's say sleeping, for instance. If you have adrenal fatigue or you have burned a candle at both ends for too long, you're in a serious depletion, which means if you're not replenishing, if you're not taking the steps both naturally as well as possibly supplementing, if you're not replenishing that, your weight loss efforts will be halted, because when your body's in adrenal fatigue, it will not release weight. Even if you do everything perfectly in terms of exercise and diet, you will not release weight. Adrenal fatigue is a state of flight or fight where you have basically depleted all of your adrenal hormones, and now your body can't recover. And when it can't recover, it's just going to hold on to whatever it can because it isn't optimally balanced. It can't recover. We have adrenal hormones in order to survive, but in our society, with the pace of everything, life, technology, with our addictions to devices and not paying attention to our bodies and to being distracted all the time, we don't allow ourselves to not be in the state of fight or flight. We think everything is going to kill us. We think everything is life and death. We think everything is so important that if I don't do this, oh my God, the level of anxiety and stress is just off the chart. So adrenal fatigue is a very also common situation for a lot of people, and they miss it, and they don't understand how to correct it because we are in such a fast pace right now and anxious, and we support workaholism and doing, and we're so gratifying of all that. Now the millennials aren't. They're coming in and saying, I don't want to be like you guys, which is good because someone needs to put a big halt on that. Minus the technology piece, which that's the next conversation, but the need for rest, the need for a slower pace, the need to bring it down and to bring it back to nature, to be sustainable, to live in a different way, to support your bodies and your health long term is really the direction. So number 3 is about balancing and replenishing your hormones.
All right, number 4.
Secret number 4 is about understanding your emotional anatomy and identifying your addiction. Everyone has an addiction. And there are different kinds of addictions. There's hard addictions and soft addictions. Hard addictions would be the ones you think about when you hear the word addiction, which would be alcohol, tobacco, drugs, things of that nature. Hard addiction is something you cannot live without. But there are also soft addictions that you cannot live without. So, for instance, technology, shopping, the need to control. So many people have control issues, and it manifests in different ways. Like, for instance, last night I was with a new client, and she's a lovely people pleaser. People pleasing is a control issue. Counting calories is a control issue. People pleasing is a control issue because you can't control what other people think, but you think you're trying to. You're trying to manipulate somebody else's opinion and get some kind of response from them that lets you know that you've succeeded in manipulating them, basically, into thinking or feeling something, and then you go, okay, I've done my work, I've done my job, they think this, great, I can leave now.
Wow.
But the reality of it is you can't change what they're going to think or say or do after you walk away. It's an illusion. People-pleasing is the biggest way of duping people, because it's saying, I need you to respond to me in a certain way in order for me to feel safe or accepted. But again, it's putting all the power in someone else's hands. And that's just one example of all the different addictions I talk about in the book. And why this is important is because for a lot of people, food is an addiction. But because you eat, and you have to eat, you think, oh, but it's food. It's not that big of a deal. But food is probably one of the biggest addictions we have. And the bottom line to all of it is not that we're addicted to it's not about the thing. It really bugs me when I see people who want to glorify everyone who's stopped doing a drug, and they're like, oh, I've been clean or dry or whatever, and that's great, but that doesn't mean you're healed. The addictive energy is the emotional piece underneath it to create the impulse for you to repress the emotion in the first place. It wasn't about the alcohol. It wasn't about the drugs. It wasn't about the cigarettes. It wasn't about the tobacco. It's not about the food. It's about what you're trying to deny, what you're trying to repress and not be, and not allow to be expressed. And the longer we have this conversation about the surface level BS, about the action or the habit or the substance, we're missing the point. Because how many people do you know that have stopped a substance and gone to a different substance? They're not healed. It's not about the substance. It's not even about the action. It's about the impulse of what are you trying to run from? What are you so uncomfortable that you're afraid to feel that you need to eat or smoke or drink or constantly be distracted and be another addiction is putting out fires, being in chaos because you can't slow down long enough to sit in your own body. So again, we get to that place after we have to eliminate the food stuff first in the beginning to make sure that we're not dealing with cravings and biochemical responses. But then when we move to the fourth secret, this is time to look within and get real. I've worked with people who've been on 20 different programs for years and had no idea they had emotional issues. And I want to say, seriously? Okay. Well, so you just think this is, that you just don't know what to do. You just love food so much. It's no, I love food. No one can tell me. That's why I love being a Greek Italian in this industry, because people want to say, well, I'm a foodie. I'm like, oh, no, I'm a foodie. I get it. I love to bake. I love to cook. I love to eat. So if I can do it, anyone else can do it. And it's not about restriction, and it's not about, you do restrict things, but it isn't about not eating those foods. It's finding another way. It's creating in a way that's with better ingredients that actually your body can digest. So Secret 4 really is that first situation that deals with your addiction, identifying it, because don't think you don't have one. You probably have multiple, and because that awareness of that habit and behavior is important to change it, because until you start to change that, it doesn't matter whose weight loss program you're on or what calorie counting, what diet you're on, or how much you're exercising, you're not going to run away from your emotions and from your feelings.
Absolutely. Well, and I love that you point out that addiction is about the underlying emotion, and it's about what's really going on, getting clear on that, and also pointing out that it almost doesn't matter what the addiction is, that usually we need to look deeper. There's something else there.
Lots of people start programs or want to change their life, and they do it in a vacuum, in a bubble. They're in an environment that doesn't necessarily support it. No one else is on board with it. And then they think that's why they have the shame part of beating themselves up that they didn't do it right, because you're not in an environment that supports that. And so, of course, it's going to be hard to want to eat healthy or make choices of your food when there's 5 other people around you constantly who have no interest in that. You're not weak or wrong for trying to transition and making it difficult because the temptation and the collective energy of the group that you're with, whether it be family or friends or coworkers or whatever, are the opposite of that. So the last secret is about the courage to connect. The courage to connect with yourself and with others in a community situation, in an environment, to say, I have the courage to show up and be seen. And maybe it's not I have the courage to show up and be seen by people who know me, but seeking out groups, seeking out memberships, whatever, people that will allow you to try new things, will accept you for who you are and embrace the journey that you're on and support the journey that you're on and are on the same journey. Because without a community, I mean, that's why people go to church. That's why people join groups. That's why people have strong relationships with PTA friends from years ago. There was a collective energy of interest and focus on something. And that's where you connect it. Community is important. And not all of us have community. And it's important because if you don't have community, then you feel alone. And the struggle is then amplified because you think you're the only one doing it. You're the only one struggling with it. You're the only one having these thoughts or feelings. And then you go into this self-conversation about why can't I do this and can I get it right and how come it doesn't last and what's wrong with me? And it's really nothing about you. You're not in an environment that supports these changes. And in order to get to where you want to be, you really want to put yourself in a new environment, at least temporarily, to get the support that you need and the strength that you need and the clarity that you need and the validation that you need. So then when you come back into the situation of family, friends, or coworkers that aren't on board with you, you have the resiliency to see it for what it is versus you keep judging yourself against what's going on in front of you.
That's beautiful. You know, it's really interesting to me as you go through each of these 5 secrets. So many times people stop thinking. When things get difficult, when we stop powering our lives, when we lose our momentum, something difficult happens, we can then start to burden ourselves with all of the negativity and all of the doubts. And that's where we start to go internal and the shame and the frustration, and that's where a lot of the depression can come from. That's, not chemical, but can be self-initiated. And what I love about this is 5 specific points that we can set goals in. Do you think that people should be working on all 5 at the same time? Is it overload? Is it the right way? What would you recommend if someone's saying, this sounds like absolutely the roadmap for me? Where do I start?
Well, you can come and get the book. And what I've also created is a 5-month program that goes through each one of these steps. So,
that's
yes,
amazing.
It's a 5-month program that week by week you go over each lesson. Maybe there's a chapter or 2 in the book that you read or review, but you take it one step at a time because it's about the integration of all these things, and it's about doing all of them. And that is what, I always fear, which is why I had to create this program that goes with the book, because the book is great, but if you just grab the book and you pick which secret you think you're comfortable with, most likely it won't be the one you need. And most likely you'll get some temporary response, but then you'll put the book down. Because that's what happens. Unless you have a class or some kind of accountability of implementation and that's part of what Secret 5 is. It's about that community, but also about the accountability. So you can buy the book, but you can also join the course and get the course, and it's given to you in once a week lessons, and really like step by step, holding your hand, walking you through, and you also get to be a part of a community who are doing the same thing to support the journey and all the frustrations and all the questions and all the celebrations along the way. But it's to complete the whole thing, because I hate creating really great products for people who I know aren't going to use them. I'm not about selling you something you're never going to use. I'm not interested in that. I want to give you something you will use and transform your life. And while I can respect that everyone's on their own journey and path, and divine time is going to show up when it does for you. So if you get the book and you don't do anything with it for years because you're not ready, but maybe we're planting the seed right now about step 4 and Secret 5 and Secret 4, that's fine. I get that. But when you finally ready to take the journey, and commit to it. Aren't you worth it? And aren't you worth finally solving this? Because it's all here. This is 20 years of my work and life and clients that's in this book. And clients of mine that have read it, friends that have read it, have been like, this is the best thing you've done. Because it really is the whole package. It's every part of it, and it's not one piece, and it's not a fad. This book will be sustainable for the rest of your life, because all of these points that I'm making are, again, either scientific or psychological, but they're stuff that we're always evolving and expanding. So you're going to want to be a part of a wave, of movement, a support group, a community of people that are having these conversations, because that's how we heal. That's how we grow. We don't just change one thing and then expect to fit into our old lives. Our old lives are what created where you are right now. And in order for you to grow and expand, there's action, there's accountability, there's faith, there's trust, and there's connection that needs to be made.
And the overall theme here is, you guys, you can. All of our listeners, you can. And I am motivated by JJ. I'm sure all of our listeners are. I can't wait to read this book, get my hands on it too. So go ahead and drop us a few of the places we can find you online, and we will be sure and hook those up in the show notes.
So jjflizanes.com, invisiblefitness.com, and fit2love.tv. That's FIT, the number 2, LOVE.tv.
And is that your podcast?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then are you on social media? We've got a lot of Facebook and Instagrammers out there.
Yep. If you go to jjflizanes.com or fit2love.tv, all the links are there. You can just find, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Google+. So all the links are there. And just come over to fit2love.tv. That's the best place right now. And click whatever link. Instagram is my favorite right now because I bake and cook. And I experiment for things on the show. So I'm always putting like food stuff, or I find great products that are new kinds of food substitution products that I really enjoy. And then I share them because I want to make sure people are choosing the better quality and the better tasting things when you do try elimination diet, so that you go, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I wouldn't have found this otherwise. So,
yeah. Wonderful. Well, we'll be sure and hook that all up again in the show notes. So be sure and go and give her a hello, a thank you. What did you think about the podcast on her social media? Get connected there. That's one of the greatest parts of living in this day and age, is we are so connected. We can keep the message and learning going. Any last parting words?
That we always have a choice to choose to be empowered, and to recognize that we create our own reality, and that you're never a victim of anything, maybe of your own thoughts, but those can be changed too. You have a choice to decide to take responsibility not from a shameful way, not from a way of that you've done something wrong, but from a way of saying, if I created all of this, that means I can change it. So what can I change today? What can I do differently? Versus thinking things just sort of happen to you, which, while that may feel good for you for a minute, like, oh, that just happened to me, you might get some kind of validation from that. That's a place of disempowerment, and you'll never feel good in that place. So even if you don't believe that you really are responsible for everything you attract, everything that happens, that place of thinking and believing that you might have contributed in some way, and maybe not deliberately, and maybe just divine timing, and maybe your life lessons, maybe it's not necessarily, like an action that you did or didn't do. But if you take the route of empowerment, you'll always find something you can do to feel better, to be better, and to embrace life in a way that feels good, instead of feeling like it's something that just happened to you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. You can learn more about Body Buddies and Power Foods Lifestyle by going to www.body-buddies.com, BODY-BUDDIES.com, and powerfoodslifestyle.com. That's www.powerfoodslifestyle.com.
Information in this episode is provided for informational purposes and is not meant to substitute the advice provided by your own physician or other medical professional. Information and statements regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.